Whether you operate one forklift or thousands, one location or hundreds, the new My Toyota customer portal can help you optimize your operation and material handling equipment. This one-stop, free-to-use platform is designed to help you take control of your information and make smarter decisions, all at the touch of a button. Register and access your data today at my.toyotaforklift.com. That's my.toyotaforklift.com.
The New Warehouse Podcast, hosted by Kevin Lawton, is your source for insights and ideas from the distribution, transportation, and logistics industry. A new episode every Monday morning brings you the latest from industry experts and thought leaders. And now, here's Kevin.
Hello, and welcome to the show. This is the New Warehouse Podcast, and I'm back with a new episode for you guys. I just came back last week from ProMat 2019 in Chicago, powered by MHI, our friends at MHI. If you guys may remember, we had Tom Carbot on to talk about ProMat a couple weeks back. He gave us some great insight on the show, and actually we received some feedback as well when I was on the floor, that people got some great tips from that episode as well and made them really look forward to ProMat. So thank you again to Tom for that. Also want to say thank you to Carol Miller for being my contact and helping me get all organized for the show, and kind of give me a feeling of what to expect and what I could do and what I couldn't do at the show as well. So thank you to both of them, and also thank you to Tom. Special thank you and congratulations to Tom, as he will be retiring after this ProMat and moving on. So I hope that he enjoys retirement. I think he's been with MHI, I think he said something like 27 years on the interview that we had. So really this year, the event was amazing. It was my first time attending ProMat, and the crowd there was just crazy. It was overwhelming. So I got there on the second day, and I was there for the third day and the fourth day. And the second day when I was there, the attendance was just insane. There were people everywhere. And I think, what we're hearing and what I was hearing throughout the floor as I was talking to people is that this is probably the highest attendance record that ProMat has ever seen. I know that they were saying that they had about 45,000 people that had registered to attend, and I would not be surprised if they had more than that come through the door at some point. There was tons and tons of people. It was really, really great to see all of the interest in everything going on in the material handling industry, logistics, and distribution. And the big thing, the exhibitors. There's so many exhibitors there. A lot of them had incredible displays. I mean, they really went all out. I'm talking like, building full mini warehouses right there with racking and pallets and everything. Really incredible stuff to see. I think there was over 1,000 plus companies there exhibiting from both the ProMat part of the show and also the Automate part of the show. And the Automate part, if you guys are not familiar, I don't think we had really touched on that when we discussed with Tom, but Automate is similar to ProMat, but it's really focused on automation and focused on robotics as well. So there was a lot of incredible technology going on in ProMat, and to see all those things up close and personal was really truly amazing. You can see videos of stuff online, and you can hear about things that people are working with, but you don't always get the experience to really experience them in person. And at ProMat, you do. So every robotics company that was there, they have their robots with them. They have their automation solutions with them, and they're showing them off and they're demonstrating them. And to see what some of them are capable of doing is, it's truly incredible where we are in the industry. And it's truly incredible to see where we're going in the industry. So I was really, really impressed. I mean, I was expecting to, really enjoy it, but I would say it was, an amazing experience, way beyond what I had expected and what I was really thinking in terms of what was going to be there and how it was going to be presented. As soon as, I walked in, it was just like, wow. And I guess I'm saying that, but it's not a play on words, because the tagline of the show was "Find Your Wow" at ProMat, and I'd say that it was definitely a big wow, without a doubt. And the way the show was organized and everything was done, it was really, really well executed and planned out. So definitely kudos to the ProMat team and MHI for doing that and putting it on. So like I said, there were robots everywhere, and I think I talked to so many people there. I think I interviewed like 42 different companies that were exhibiting there. So I was all over the place. I saw pretty much everything. And then we had even more coverage on our Instagram as well. So if you guys didn't check that out, then you can definitely head over to our Instagram, check out the highlights. It is there. So you can see a lot of the stuff in action, a lot of the robots doing their thing. But, just talking to people that were there, basically, ProMat has grown and our industry has grown so much more into, I would say, the acceptance of robotics and automation. We had talked to Bruce Welty of Quiet Logistics in our first episode, and one of the things that we had discussed was, back when he started with Kiva, before Kiva was Amazon's thing, and, robots in distribution and warehousing was something that was kind of, very skeptical. And Bruce even admitted that, he was one of the biggest skeptics out there. So now to see how the industry is embracing robotics and automation, it's really incredible. And I think that, overwhelmingly talking to people, one point of discussion is always, what do you think in the future about, robots taking people's jobs? Are robots going to take away jobs from people? And overwhelmingly what I heard when interviewing these people and just talking to people on the floor is that, robotics in general has moved and kind of migrated not to these robots that will work on their own and, just eliminate people from the picture altogether, but robots that will be what's termed as cobots. So I think that was one of the big words that I heard a lot at the show from a lot of these robotics companies, was that these cobots are not, necessarily independently working. They're working alongside humans. So either they're working in terms of they're doing a task that's, mundane and repeated, and just done the same over and over and over, and they're reducing that mundane task from the human's workload. Or they're either doing the transportation part of things, and one of the major ways, if you're into lean, is definitely transportation. So they're utilizing these robots to either, bring goods to pickers, or they're utilizing the robots to bring goods elsewhere in the warehouse for different functions. And they're utilizing them to reduce the amount of time that humans have to walk, which, reduces the amount of stress on the body, also reduces the amount of time that they're taking to walk, so they can be doing other things in between, robots going back and forth for them. So it really takes that time out of it, and in some cases, it eliminates maybe another piece of machinery that might be needed. And it also reduces safety risk as well, because if you have the employees traveling less in the warehouse and stuff like that, then there's less risk of them possibly, being injured, or any kind of fork truck accident, powered industrial truck accident, anything like that. So really there's a big push towards robotics, and understandably so. And, one of those underlying things, like I just said, is the cobots, right? And same with automation. So all those things are going towards more of a collaborative work effort than an elimination of work for humans. And I think that's really important to understand, especially for people that, are not necessarily familiar with it, and they're just kind of dipping their toes in the water of robotics and automation, or, they're just skeptical and, they're not sure what's going to happen. But one of the things which I think also is pushing robotics and automation majorly is I also heard from multiple people the same thing, is that the labor market that we're looking at right now makes it difficult for these types of jobs to be filled. And the interesting thing about it is, a lot of times when you talk about the labor market, you're talking about, unemployment is so high and this and that, but where we're at is that unemployment is low. So when unemployment is low, these mundane tasks, there's not as many people out there that are willing to take them or fill in those jobs and those positions because they don't want to do that kind of thing, and because there's more jobs out there that are more interesting, and there's less people unemployed, that means it's easier to get a better job. So what they're doing is they're preparing for this, and even though this is already going on now, the predictions that I was hearing from people are that, that situation is going to possibly get worse. So they're preparing for robotics and automation to take over those smaller tasks, those tasks that people don't want to do. I saw automation where there was automation just dropping, like marketing cards in boxes, right? And that's, for somebody to do as many boxes as e-commerce operations are pumping out, having to drop something in each box, that takes time, and that's taking up somebody's time. So automating that is taking that time away from them, and then it's making them be able to pick faster or whatever it is the regular task may be. The other thing, you're looking at is that the competitiveness for the labor market is something that we talked about a lot as well, and that's something that we touched on in our conversation with Dean Dorcas of Easy Metrics on a previous podcast episode as well. And basically what you're looking at is that, in these areas where distribution centers are popping up, and as, that closer to customer philosophy is getting pushed more and more because the customer service level is getting higher. People are expecting things, in 2 days, next day. We're even pushing, in some cases, the same day delivery. That means that, distribution centers need to get closer to the customer to reduce that transportation time and be able to deliver quicker to the customer as well. So in doing so, you end up creating these areas similar to where I'm located in New Jersey. You're creating these areas where there's so many distribution centers that it creates this competition for labor. And what happens is you get, smaller companies not being able to keep up with the larger companies because the larger companies have more money. They're able to pay more in terms of hourly wage, and they're able to do things like take bigger risks on people, and not vetting them as much for the job as you may need to with a smaller operation, because they have the resources to do that and to churn over people quickly. They're able to do that because they have the resources to do that. They have the resources to market more to labor and also to recruit more to labor as well. I know myself personally, I drive into the warehouse that I work, and on the way I see signs pop up almost weekly at different warehouses saying, we're paying this much for an hour, and I just think wow, I hope the people that work for me don't drive past there, because either they're going to be looking for more money or they're going to be looking for the door to go work over there. And it's hard to compete with that sometimes when you're a smaller company and you can't necessarily raise your wages like that and afford to pay that money. So robots and automation are really coming into play to try and help with that gap in the labor market. And I think the other thing that's kind of underlying there, and something that is part of the mission of the New Warehouse blog and podcast, is that the robotics and automation, that can bring in a whole nother segment of people that start to get interested in this industry, because robots and automation, those things, they're cool, I guess, for lack of a better word. They're very interesting. They're intriguing. They grab your attention. I mean, everybody walking past, the exhibits at ProMat itself is, you see everybody stop and want to take pictures, want to take video of the robots doing whatever the task is that they're doing, just because it's so incredible to see. And these things, they're so smart in what they're doing, and it's hard to believe how far we've come to get to this point. and, we're going to go even further, which is even crazier. So, it's really about the labor, and those two things were really the big underlying themes that I got out of all the interviews I did and discussing with a lot of people. So, it's really important for me, for the new warehouse. And, when I was talking to people, we're brand new. We're only like 5-6 weeks old right now, right? That we launched in the beginning of March. And, a lot of people hadn't heard of us yet, and understandably so, because we've only been out there a little bit. And ProMat was kind of our way of introducing ourselves to the industry a little bit. So it was good to get out there, talk to people, explain to them what the new warehouse is, what our goals are, what our mission is. And basically, to reiterate that for you guys, the listeners, is, we really want to be a person or a platform, is a better word, to be out there and showing off these interesting, cool things that are happening in our industry, and be able to share that with people and get other people interested. I think, I said many times when I was talking to people and describing the new warehouse, and so many people agreed with me. So many people that are not in the industry, they just think that distribution and logistics is, there's a concrete building that's filled with cardboard boxes, right? So, but it's so much more than that. There's so much more that goes into getting that package to you on your porch, or getting the product into the store that you're going to buy stuff from. There's so many things happening behind the scenes, and those things that are happening, they're getting better and better, and they're getting more high tech and more intricate and more interesting, all just to improve the service time that it gets to you, improve the efficiency, and make your life as a consumer that much easier and convenient. So I think it's really important to create the awareness around those things and be able to show those things and speak to them in different ways that different segments of our worlds can understand, and even get more people interested, and possibly get them interested to the point where they want to work with these automations, they want to work with this technology, they want to work with robots, and get them interested in coming into our industry and helping to fill that gap. Because the way we're going, we're only going to be getting bigger and bigger and growing more and more as more things move online, more e-commerce, more distribution, more logistics needed. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens in the next couple of years. And I'll definitely be super interested to see how far the robotics and automation comes in just 2 years in 2021, which I think will be the next ProMat. So, that's really the big thing that I was seeing there. I wanted to talk just a little bit about my experience before I start to put out the interviews that I've done there. I did, I think, 42 interviews in total over the 3 days that I was there. So I want to roll them out to you in a nice package, and I want them, to make sense, and I want to group them kind of together in a way that makes sense. So I'll start to roll those out next week. It'll probably be maybe 4 or 5 episodes. So it'll be covering over the next month. That'll be our content. But the interviews, they're really, really interesting. I mean, I'm talking to CEOs, product managers, marketing guys, presidents of companies about, what they're doing and where the industry is going, what products they have. And, some of the things that they have are just incredible. And some of the things that are in the works are even more incredible too. And, just to hear their views on the industry, because a lot of these people, they've been in the industry for a long time. So they've seen all the changes. To hear, their insight is really, really interesting. And so
we'll be back after a quick break.
You hear a lot about supply chains these days, because if the past couple years have taught us anything, it's that an efficient, well-managed supply chain is absolutely critical to keeping businesses successful and consumers happy. I'm Will Haywood, and I host a podcast called All Business, No Boundaries, where we talk about supply chains, how they work, what happens when they don't, and the innovations that are redefining what's possible in the world of logistics. Join me for insightful interviews with thought leaders and industry experts. We discuss how optimizing supply chains can break down the barriers that are holding businesses back. That's All Business, No Boundaries by DHL Supply Chain. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Something incredible. So I'm really, really excited to share with you guys, and I can't wait to get it out there, and I can't wait to hear your feedback as well. And I hope that you guys can learn something, and definitely find something there that interests you. And please, reach out to me with feedback. So I wanted to talk to you about my two favorite things from ProMat. So my two favorite things, definitely, I would say, there's so much robotics and automation going on, but being that I am, a warehouse guy, kind of, I work as a warehouse manager, and, I'm in distribution center in the warehouse most of my days. And I've spent a lot of time, in the operations side as well. One thing that really stood out to me, aside from all the robotics and automation, was I got a chance to talk to Enersys, which is, if you guys haven't heard of Enersys is one of the biggest battery companies in the industry. So they provide a lot of batteries for forklift equipment, material handling equipment, things of that nature. They do for other industries as well, but they are one of the biggest in our industry. So I got the chance to talk to them, and, we started to talk about, the kind of batteries that they've been offering and what they're moving to, talking about lithium ion, that type of technology with the battery itself. But the real wow moment for me, and I think for a lot of people when they were visiting the booth, was actual wireless charging of forklifts. And if you are familiar, with the warehouse and being in distribution centers, you know that having a forklift be down can be really impactful. Typically you try to run as lean as possible, and you try to optimize as much as you can, so you don't really necessarily have extra machines just floating around most of the time, because, why spend the money if it's just going to sit, is usually the thinking from the higher up. So anyway, what happens is that either somebody forgets to plug in to the charger, or maybe you don't have as many chargers as you have machines. So someone unplugs your machine to plug in their machine. There's a whole list of things that can happen that can prevent machines from getting the charges that they need, and which can ultimately hurt the operation, and can definitely, result in some lost time and downtime for an operator as well, and a loss in productivity, definitely. So the wireless forklift charging is pretty incredible, because it's something, I think for implementation, it's a little intensive because it goes into the floor, is my understanding of it. And this is something, so it's something that's in the works. It's still being fully fleshed out. And I have the interview with Enersys, so that'll be something that you guys will hear in the coming weeks. And they'll have all the details in the interview about it. But just a quick overview. So, they're still kind of fleshing it out, but it gets embedded in the floor. So you would put it, typically where you would park your forklifts. So as soon as the forklift parks, now the battery is communicating to the charger. So whereas past technology and current technology, charger is usually communicating to the battery. Now the battery is going to be communicating to the charger, and the battery is going to say, okay, I need this much charge, so give me charge. Or it's going to say, no, I don't need a charge right now, I'm okay, and the charger won't do anything. So your operators, your employees, they're going to just park, where they would park their machine. When they park, battery talks to the charger, charges if needed, if not, doesn't. Pretty cool. But it gets even cooler. So we discussed what they're referring to as a hot aisle. And when they refer to the hot aisle, they're talking about, so you have your racking, you have your different aisles of where you're picking or where you have bulk storage, whatever the case may be for your layout. But they're saying what they can do is they can embed these all along the aisle. So now this aisle becomes a hot aisle. So now your operator is driving. As the operator is driving, it's charging, going down that aisle. Now, to take it one step further, as you design your pick path or your pick sequence in your system, you're telling your operators in which direction, they're going to go for picks and which order they're going to get picks. Now, for your warehouse management system, if you can actually put it to a point, and where they're trying to get it is that if the machine can communicate to the warehouse management system and the machine communicates that the battery needs charge, now that's going to throw the signal to the warehouse management system, which is going to automatically give that picker a pick down the hot aisle, which means that now the picker is going to go pick. They're just thinking that, they're just doing another pick. This is the next pick. But really what's happening is that they're accomplishing a pick or maybe multiple picks in the aisle, depending on your layout and depending on your system or the orders they have. But at the same time, the system is actually recognizing when a charge is needed and directing the picker to go down there, or the operator to go down that aisle and get that charge. So, and the operator doesn't even really know that. So the operator doesn't really have to remember to charge, because the system will just take them down the aisle to charge them up. So I thought that was just, amazing. Really incredible. I guess maybe I could think somewhere in my head about wireless charging, but to think about setting up wireless charging in that way and to have the system so smart to be, to recognize and trigger that charge is needed and to accomplish another task at the same time while charging is, I think that's like a game changer, in my opinion. So, that was one of my favorite things that I learned about at ProMat. The second was actually teaching robots. So I got a chance to interview the president of Productive Robotics. And we spent some time talking, and, he was showing me the different robots. They had palletizing robot. They had robots doing machining things. But then we got into the conversation further, and, we started talking about how, robots need to be programmed. And, that's been a difficult thing to get over, because that's a hurdle, because now you need somebody in your organization that knows about robotic programming and how to program these robots if need be. So what Productive Robots has actually done is they've taken learning, and they've made this simple way to teach the robot what it needed to do. And we did it there while we were interviewing. I saw it with my own eyes, and I was just kind of blown away at the technology, because basically the Productive Robotics is a robot arm, right? And then you have different attachments on the robot arm, and based on the attachment is the task that you can teach them to do. So, we went over to this robot that was in place. The robot was in motion, doing its thing. The president, Zach, he just reached out, touched the robot. Robot recognized him right away, stopped what it was doing. Then there's like 3 or 4 buttons on the side. Press one of the buttons, and then there's a tablet connected to the robot. So pulls the tablet out and presses a couple buttons. We wanted to teach the robot to pick up this pipe connector that they had there as a sample, and then to drop it in this spot and do the same thing over and over. So went on the tablet, very simple, touch screen, very descriptive buttons. The user interface was just like bone simple. And, what do you want the robot to do? Do you want it to pick up, drop? Forget what the other options were. But, as simple as pressing that button, then, showing the robot the item and then showing them where to drop. So it was like a two-step thing. I think it took, to teach the robot how to do that, it took less than a minute. And the robot did it like right away. As soon as he hit the confirm button, right away the robot just picked up what it was supposed to pick up, dropped it where it was supposed to drop it, and just kept doing it over and over. And then he said, well, that seems easy, but what was, let's make it easier. And I was kind of like, what do you mean, how do you make it easier? So basically, without the tablet, he taught the robot as well. So you grab the robot, press the button, and then you can see on the tablet what the robot is seeing. So the robot's actually looking, and you see on the screen, the robot recognizes the item that's there, and then the robot, you press the button on the side, and then the robot recognizes that it needs to pick it up, and then it picks it up, then you move the robot, tell it where you want to drop it, and the robot remembers, and then you hit the button again, and it just does it. So it was really pretty incredible, and it's something that, just by seeing that, like, it's something that I would feel, and like I know nothing about robot programming, so it's something that I would feel like I could just walk up to this robot and actually teach it something, which is pretty incredible. And I was pretty blown away by that. So those were definitely my two favorite things that I saw at the show. There were so many great things there, but those were the two that really stood out to me and really made me think that they're really going to be big factors in the industry and be a big change for a lot of things and make a lot of things easier and better, definitely. The other big highlight for me from ProMat was Marcus Lemonis was one of the keynote speakers. And I am a huge Marcus Lemonis fan. If you guys are not familiar with him, he is the CEO and chairman of RV World, or no, Camping World. But he's also an investor in many businesses, and he has a show on TV called The Profit. That's where I found out about him first. So he has a show on CNBC called The Profit. Basically, he goes on, he talks to small businesses. Well, I guess small businesses reach out to him, and they need help. They're not making money, they're losing money. He comes on, assesses their company, and then either he invests in the company and then advises them and guides them, or, it ends up not working out. But he's really smart in business and what he does. So the talk, I was very excited for, and, being that, he has this business show, I was expecting it to be about business. But it was very different than what I was expecting. And it was very personal from him. And it was very personal with the audience as well, even though the audience in there was huge. So it was really interesting. And basically, the big things that he was asking and talking about, he's talking about, what really is your purpose? And it kind of makes you think, definitely made me think. I mean, I think it's still making me think about what is your purpose? And, being at ProMat kind of made me think about, what is part of my purpose. I know that there's multiple things, I guess, in my life that is probably my purpose, but, being at ProMat, being able to be out there in industry that I'm part of, but sharing something new in the industry, like the new warehouse, with people, and hearing the positive reception that people had to the format that we're using and the way we're trying to do it and the things that we're trying to do to help benefit the industry, really kind of made me feel like, this is somewhat of my purpose, and it made me really happy and excited to be doing these things, and, people getting behind it and being very positive about it, just kind of cements that, and it makes me feel really good, and I'm really happy that I can be providing something like this to the industry. And I hope that, we can continue to do this for a long time, and I hope that we can really educate and create awareness to all the things that are happening in our industry, and really give you, the listener, in the industry, and other people in the industry as well, give them a platform to be able to share their ideas and insights. And I think it can really be something useful in the industry. So I hope that works out, and I hope you guys find something useful and very interesting as well. The other thing Marcus had talked about was he was talking about how can you change perspective. He was talking about perspective. So basically what he was asking, he asked some people, how many people think this, how many people think that, and the big question he was asking was, is that just because of your perspective that you think, negatively about someone, or that you don't want to work with a certain person, is it really them, or is it just your perspective of them? And, it kind of makes you think and question, maybe I need to look at the way that I'm looking at things, or look at things the way that they look at things, to really understand, why they are the way they are. Why are they, annoying, or whatever it may be, to you. And, I think it's definitely something that I took away with me, and we'll definitely look at and see. So, if you ever get a chance to see Marcus Lemonis talk, I don't know if he does a lot of talking events or engagements, but if you do, I would definitely recommend taking up the opportunity to do it. Also, I would definitely check out a show, The Prophet, on CNBC. It's on Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock, I believe. So definitely a really interesting show. It teaches you a lot about business, and teaches you a lot about just how to, conduct yourself and be smart about decisions, and, just about the consumer mind as well, which I think is important in our industry too. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I did want to share one interview with you at the end of this show as well. So I had the chance to meet Ralph Henderson at the show. We had been talking a little bit before, and we actually met in person for the first time at the show. Ralph is the owner of Omnichannel Productions, and what Omnichannel Productions is, they work with a lot of companies in our industry to put on events, do forums, different talks, and also he was there because he was working with a couple different companies, making sure that their booths were set up and going well, and different events that they were engaged in were happening as well. But he's really he's been around the industry for a long time in that type of capacity, so he knows a lot of people in the industry. But why I interviewed him was because he partners with Tompkins International, which is one of the big supply chain solution providers. They have many different branches. They had a great booth at ProMat, which had the T-Sort there, which is their robotic automation. And so I interviewed him to talk about the upcoming supply chain forum, which is happening in May. And it's May 6th to 8th. It's going to be in North Carolina, and it's put on by Tompkins International, along with Ralph. Ralph is really the coordinator and the producer of the event. So it just happened that I met him at the Tompkins booth, so it was a perfect setting for the interview. And actually interesting story about Tompkins International. So when I was thinking about doing something with the industry, aside from my regular job, I was thinking about, maybe do some consulting, maybe a couple other things. I had a couple other ideas as well. I didn't really know about Tompkins International. And I just kind of stumbled upon Jim Tompkins, who's the founder of Tompkins International. Just kind of stumbled across him on LinkedIn, and I saw that he's supply chain consultant for a long time, so many years. So I was like, let me send this guy a message and ask him if he's got any advice for me. And so I sent him. I said, it's great to connect with you. so and so, and then basically asked him, do you have any advice? I'm thinking about getting into consulting maybe a little bit. I see you've been doing it for a long time, so I was wondering, do you have any advice for somebody looking to get started? And his response was don't do it. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But we continued to talk for a little bit, and basically, what he said is, they've been so successful because they position themselves as experts in industry, and they really have. I mean, if you look at all the things they do, I mean, they have their hands in everything, including robotics now. And I actually have some blog posts that they've contributed to the new warehouse, so I'll be posting those soon as well. We'll have a couple other blog posts going up too this week probably, that have been shared with different people from the industry. But really that conversation kind of led me to the new warehouse a little bit, because what stood out to me was that when he said, position yourself as an expert. And I think that giving a platform for people to kind of share their expertise and their ideas and insights is really a helpful tool for the industry, because we're all kind of doing similar things, and we may not know that someone in a totally different product industry may have something useful that we can use in our product industry. So I talked to Ralph, and Ralph gave some details about the supply chain forum, and it is in May. It's coming up soon, so that's why I wanted to make sure that we got that interview up and ready so you guys can get more information about that. But they're really going to have a lot of great speakers, and it does have a golf theme as well, so if you're a golfer, definitely would be of interest to you. So without further ado, here is my interview with Ralph Henderson of Omnichannel Productions talking about the Supply Chain Forum. Hi guys, this is Kevin Lawton from the New Warehouse Podcast. I'm back here at ProMat 2019, and I'm going to talk to Ralph Henderson of Omnichannel Productions. He's going to talk to us about an upcoming Supply Chain Forum with some great speakers that's coming up in May. We're actually standing here at the Tompkins booth, and the owner and founder of Tompkins is actually going to be one of the speakers there as well. So Ralph, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Kevin. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for talking to us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what your company does, Omnichannel Productions?
Okay, well, Omnichannel Productions is a company that helps other companies become more well-known.
Okay.
One of the ways we do that is trade show advising, which is why I'm here. I've got a couple clients who are exhibiting at the show, and I'm helping them with their strategy and communication. But another thing that we do that's kind of fun is we produce executive forums for people in the supply chain space, and we've been doing that for nearly 10 years, and one of them is Tompkins International. So it's kind of fun to be here at the Tompkins booth talking about that.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
All right, so why don't you tell us a little bit about this upcoming forum in May?
Yeah, it's called the Supply Chain Leadership Forum,
okay.
And I've been producing that now for the last few years, and it is for executives, and the program is really the relevant material that the supply chain material handling folks are dealing with and helping them with what to do about that, and talking to other executives, maybe from different industries, on how they've approached it. But most importantly, it's really to bring people together, give them relevant, applicable information that can help them professionally and personally.
Okay, great. So I guess you're looking for, the audience would be to be executives, correct?
Yeah, so essentially executives in the supply chain material handling, who are dealing with the distribution, manufacturing, transportation, labor, technology, all of those things that are thankfully going on right now in the supply chain space, big time, right? And, and bringing them together and helping them with what's happening right now.
Okay, great. So who do you have lined up to speak at this conference or forum?
we're really excited this year. We've got Dr. James Tompkins, who is the founder and owner of Tompkins, the executive producer of the forum. He will be doing our opening keynote. And for anyone in your audience who's never had the pleasure of hearing Dr. Tompkins talk, he is worth the price of admission. So we're really excited about that. But we've also got the former Senior Vice President of Supply Chain for Walmart, Chris Soltemeyer. He will be doing our closing keynote. So we're really excited about that. And then sprinkled in there, we've got Tim Lowe, the CEO of Lowe's Foods, a small $1.2 billion food and beverage retailer down in the Southeast. And Tim does a phenomenal job, and he's going to talk about innovation in that food and beverage world. And then we have a lot of breakout sessions, talking about, these things that are going on, like disruptive technology and what's happening with labor and how are we managing data and analytics and that kind of stuff. So a lot of stuff going on. It's going to be May 6, 7, and 8. And we're doing it on the West Campus of Duke University at the Washington Duke Inn. Yeah, as a matter of fact, we're going to have a golf game on the 6th, and that course is the #1 collegiate course in the country.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, really, really nice course. We also have a tour of the Peter Millar Distribution Center. Peter Millar is a really high-end golf apparel.
Okay.
We've got a demonstration by Siemens. It's a manufacturing demonstration by the Siemens Corporation that's going to be really cool, in addition to all the education and networking that's going on.
Wow. So it sounds like you've got a lot going on, and it's not all work, a little
That's
play
right,
too.
a little play, right?
Yeah, I like the golf theme.
Yeah.
And always great to have some shared learning with other executives too, that you'll be there in the audience with. And definitely awesome that you're going to do that tour of the facility. Yeah, so, who really would be the ones to want to go? Like, if someone's listening and they're thinking about, they're on the fence maybe of why they should go, convince them.
That's a great question. So the why, well, it's those things that are challenging us, like, the technology and the labor. And what's really nice, and I've been doing these for years, Omnichannel Productions been producing these events, and I can tell you the best thing I hear from executives year after year is, wow, I didn't realize I was going to learn so much, not just in the sessions, but talking to the other executives, especially the ones in different industries, because we tend to get a little myopic, right? We tend to live in our own cave. So if I'm a food and bev guy and I'm talking to an automotive afterparts person, now all of a sudden I'm looking at life a little differently with my supply chain.
A little bit,
right? And so those are the benefits. So again, it's the networking, it's the education, but it's really these relationships. It's the community that we create that, in addition to getting to know the folks at the forum, that you can stay in touch with over the years, that have really made people glad they've attended these kind of things.
Definitely, yeah. I think you have a great point there, because sometimes you look at a different industry and you say, there's no relation at all. But then you look at something like the supply chain and the logistics of it, it's like, oh, we could actually do something like that too, just cater to our product. Yeah.
We have a success story where we had a food and bev organization, small company called Chick-fil-A, who came to one of these years ago, not this particular one, but a different one that I produced.
Yeah.
And there was an automotive after parts person there who did a talk, and the food and bev guy took that talk and applied it to his supply chain and had some success. And he said, no way would I have even thought about that had I not come to this forum.
Wow, that's great. So if people want to register to come, sign up to come, where can they go and do that?
Tompkins Supply Chain Leadership Forum, SCLF. If they look that up, they'll find it, and you can register there online or call the concierge, Patty Tracchio, and the information is on the website for how to get a hold of her.
Okay, definitely. And we'll definitely post all that information on our website as well to go along with this interview. And what if people want to get in touch with you, brands want to talk to you about, helping them have a better strategy and doing events maybe possibly? How do they get in touch with you?
Well, that's very kind of you. And they would just look up Omnichannel Productions, Ralph Henderson, and they'll find all my contact information and anything they need there. And there's also quite a few videos of things I've done in the past that'll help them kind of better understand what they're looking at and what they would be getting into.
Awesome, great. Yeah, we love videos and we love learning experiences. So very good that you're doing that. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk to the New Warehouse podcast here at ProMat.
My pleasure. Good luck, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the New Warehouse Podcast with Kevin Lawton. Subscribe and check us out online at thenewwarehouse.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you want more content from the New Warehouse, check out our new video series called All Hands on LinkedIn. Just search for the New Warehouse on LinkedIn and follow along.